So let's have a look at the module 3 component of this 2023 paper, right? So acquired immune deficiency syndrome AIDS is caused by the human immunodeficiency virus, otherwise known as HIV, right? Figure 7 shows the various steps that occurred during HIV infection of the T helper lymphocytes, right? Lovely. So we see that there. Okay. Now what are we called to do? Describe any 4 steps labeled from 1 to, what is that? 8? Alright, let's go. 1 to 8. Alright. So, any 4 steps. You want to just describe all the steps?
Yes, sir.
Step 1. We have the binding to the surface protein of the helper T cell, right? We have binding here, right? So it assists them with the endocytosis, right? So it binds the helper T cell. It's gonna say, okay, this protein is telling me that this is a helper T cell, right? Because of all my lipids, well, my glycolipids and stuff like that, all my membrane projections, right? It is protecting me, right? It's basically a coat, a cloak, right? That protects me from the T cell figuring out what my identity is. That's generally what the retrovirus is doing, and it binds to the protein, right, or on the cell membrane, and then now it protrudes into the membrane via endocytosis, right? That is where my virulent capsule, right, and my virulent my virus capsule, right, will now break down, right? And all my genetic information, my RNA will now unwind into my mRNA now, right? So that's what's happening here from 2 to 3. 4 now, we enter into the nucleolus, right, through the nuclear pores, where we're going to have RNA replication with my transcriptase enzyme that also exists within the capsule of the virus, right? And I'm going to use that now to create more of me, basically, right? So use the cellular machinery of the cell to create more viruses, right? So we have the creation of new RNA, right? And then using the cellular processes, all the different parts of the cell now to now construct, right, a new cell that now goes through exocytosis, and there it is, right? A new virus. So I used the cell itself to create another one of me. So the replication of the retrovirus within the T cell. So what you're supposed to do is describe any 4 of those steps, right? And I just went through all of them. Really, really quick, because it's not a lot. How much marks it asks for? It's not a lot. Oh my. 8 marks. 8 marks for this amount of lines? Alright. But basically, we're just supposed to talk about 4 of them, right? So let's talk about. I would choose probably this section 1, right? Binding to the protein, right? And entering into the cell, right? That is generally the main one, right? The genetic material, the capsule breaking down, and the genetic material entering into the nucleus, right? So generally there, right? Using the cellular machinery to produce more new viral components, right? And then the release of the new virus into the bloodstream. So those general 4 areas, 1, 2, 3, and 4, probably what I would choose. Because those are the most important. Those are really the essence of what is happening here. Alright? So hopefully that's fine.
Sir,
Mostly, go
what
ahead.
is happening between 2 and 3?
2 and 3. Let's look at 2 and 3. Da, 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 da. 2 and 3, right? What's happening here? We're looking at the breakdown of the capsule and the breakdown of the genetic information into the mRNA. That's what it looks like to me, right? Especially because an enzyme called transcriptase will be present as well. So the RNA transcriptase would probably be there to help to produce the genetic information, which will now go in and affect the host DNA, which will cause DNA to now reproduce more genetic information.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right. So let's move on to this. Most HIV drugs work by interrupting a step in the HIV life cycle. The drug known as M3, M3, probably Intriva, right, interferes with the reverse transcription. Wow, transcriptase is there. Explain how the drug works, right, as a treatment for the HIV.
So, sir, he works as a treatment because it will prevent the repopulation or the, well, not re, but the population of HIV. Because if the reverse transcription is hindered, then the DNA for the coding of the new viral proteins will not be present, and hence no viral proteins are going to be produced. So that's how.
Lovely. Okay. So with the inhibition of the reverse transcription, right? There we know that reverse transcriptase is a part of the antiviral drugs, right? So reverse transcriptase inhibitors rather are a form of antiviral drugs, right? So what we're trying to do now is inhibit any type of reverse transcription, right? So we basically inhibit the nucleotide and nucleoside reverse transcriptase that is present, right? So what it's gonna do now, right? It's going to stop the information, right, from actually the viral information, right, from actually interacting with DNA to use it to produce more of itself. So the drugs would bind to a specific site on the reverse transcriptase enzyme within the for the DNA, right? And it will cause a conformational change, inhibiting the activity of the enzyme. So the enzyme cannot do its job, right? And the enzyme cannot do its job, then there will be no new viral components created. Alright? So that's how it's done. Okay? Makes sense, right? Hopefully makes sense, right? If they ask you anything along the lines of like, how HIV counteracts this, it's because of mutation. Because HIV continues to mutate, like, yeah, so it continues to mutate, right? So the drugs become less effective over periods of time. So we need to continue doing HIV research and stuff like that. That's why we haven't eradicated these viral diseases yet, because viral diseases are, well, viruses are actually harder to, you know, combat because they use RNA technology, right? But yeah, so we're basically inhibiting the reverse transcription there. Why is there a graph? No, that's not a graph. That's a graph. Is that a graph? It looks like a graph. Okay. All right. Alcohol is a powerful substance that, once consumed, can have a range of negative effects on the body. State two short-term consequences of alcohol consumption. Go ahead.
Sir, you have hold on, sir. Sir, you have the effect of slurred speech and delayed reflexes. Sir, I think that's
Okay.
not coming to me.
Okay. So you have Okay. All right.
Sir, can I try?
Go ahead. Everybody.
Sir, you can get memory loss, like they suffer from short memory loss and slurred speech, like they won't be able to pronounce proper sentences, or if it do, they normally slur.
All right. So, okay, so you're gonna have impaired judgment, right, and coordination. So that's where the third speech will come from, the effects on coordination, right? And you can have dehydration that will cause different imbalances, which will cause headaches, thirst, dizziness, fatigue, all of these different issues, right? So there's a whole host of short-term consequences that anybody can dig up from anywhere, right? So honestly, those should be fine, right? why this remind me of like diazepam, but it's not diazepam. All right, so we have benzodiazepine. All right, so benzodiazepines are a class of depressive drug. Oh my, used to manage insomnia and anxiety disorders. When used, benzodiazepines, right, have a sedative effect on persons, resulting in or causing a reduction in muscle tone and general relaxation of the muscles. So they're metabolized exclusively for excretion in the liver and are then excreted in the urine. Alright? Combining them with alcohol can be dangerous, and persons with a history of long term alcohol use are advised not to use the benzodiazepine, right, for clinical or recreational purposes. Okay. Using the information above, right, are given, discuss the possible negative effects on the liver and the brain if a person who has abused alcohol for a long period of time uses benzodiazepines, right? You must present your response in complete paragraphs. That's so cool. All right, go ahead. This is actually really fine. It's an okay question, actually. Compared to other questions, it's an okay question. How many marks is this? 10 marks. Lovely. All right. This is an okay question. Where would we start? I would start with what the liver do, and then look at what the benzodiazepine does, and then what alcohol does to the liver, and how would the liver respond to benzodiazepine. That's what I would do. What the liver does, then what the benzodiazepines do, right? And then look at what alcohol does to the liver, and then how the liver would respond to benzodiazepine, right? But let's have a look at this. What does the liver do?
So it breaks it down. Well,
Breaks it
according
what?
to the question, the benzo. Well, according to the question,
The breaks the drug
are
down.
you talking?
You can continue talking.
Alright, so according to the question, the liver breaks down benzodiazepine
Mm-hmm.
um and cause it to be excreted, right? Um, so I would say that yeah, that you do, and obviously generally it creates urea and remove ammonia from the body and all that. But I would say that its effect on the liver would be severe because for persons who abuse alcohol for a very long time, they have scarring on the liver. Usually they suffer from cirrhosis, so the liver cannot break down benzodiazepine. Basically, it cannot carry out to nice functions.
Okay, so we're gonna need more, right, for that answer. But yeah, you're completely on the right track. Go ahead.
To add to his response, since ben benzodiazepine, it brings about like the general relaxation of muscles as stated there in the given information. So if you have a damaged liver, for example, or calcification of the liver, then taking benzodiazepine, it will cause it will okay. The whole function of the liver is going to obviously be compromised in a sense that it won't function to the maximum percent that it can in a person who has alcohol abuse history. So if they take benzodiazepine and it causes relaxation of like the liver muscles, then it further won't be able to properly carry out its function because then it will inhibit that function even more. So,
Okay.
as you
So
said, able to break it down.
okay. So liver generally breaks down the drug or any other type of substances that are produced, right? Or that are intake or that are taken into the body. Okay. Right? the benzodiazepine, what it will do is actually have a sedative effect. That's what it says, right? It reduces muscle tone, right, and causes a general relaxation of the muscles. Okay, so we have that there. Okay, now the liver will break that down, right? And if the person actually has a long term history of alcohol abuse, right? We know what that will happen. Chronic consumption of alcohol will lead, we're gonna have alcohol dehydrogenase within the liver. It's gonna break it down into acetaldehyde, and the acetaldehyde can be oxidized, right, or cause inflammation and oxidative stress on the liver, right? So this increased stress to oxidize the acetaldehyde, right, and remove the acetaldehyde from the liver can lead to liver cell injury, right, and that would lead to liver inflammation or what we call alcoholic hepatitis, right? So the alcoholic hepatitis will continue. That's what we call the continued inflammation of the liver, right? It will continue warranting immune response, right? And if the inflammation persists, we're gonna have the development of fibrosis within the liver, and then it's going to worsen and progress into cirrhosis, right? Mm-hmm. All right. Now that will completely impair the function of the liver, right? So the liver now, right? What does the liver do, right? If we have cirrhosis, right, progressing, right, the liver's ability to perform its function is completely impaired, right? So remember that the liver, the liver detoxifies harmful substances from the blood. It produces proteins for blood clotting. I maintain the fluid balance. It does all of these different things, right, for the body.
The liver, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
The liver will do all of these different things for the body, no, right? Let's say that person has long-term alcohol abuse, leading to probably alcoholic hepatitis, then fibrosis, and then developing this cirrhosis, right? What will happen to the benzodiazepine when it's taken? Is it going to be broken down efficiently?
No, sir.
All right, and we see that the benzodiazepine has these relaxing effects on muscles, and it reduces muscle tone, right? So it reduces their muscle mass on the person, right? So the question asks us to discuss the possible negative effects on the liver and the brain if the person were to do this. So what will happen to the liver? What will happen to the brain?
The liver would reduce in size
Reduce in size. That's interesting.
because they say reduce muscle tone, right? And fibrosis is the fiber that produced on the liver due to cirrhosis, right, is basically muscle. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Is it
So,
muscle?
so I'm thinking that you probably would reduce the size of the liver.
Hmm. That's That's an interesting take on it because can I confirm or deny? No. But it will have adverse effects on the liver, right? So the liver is going to go through some amount of oxidative stress. It's gonna be put under more oxidative stress, progressing the worsening of the liver, right? While they continue to take those drugs. So I would start there before I start saying that liver will actually shrink, right? But I would say that it's put under more stress, far worsening the issues within the liver. And the issue with the brain now, we're looking at the fact that we have complete reduction of muscle tone and the relaxation of muscles and stuff like that. How would that affect the brain?
So is the brain a muscle?
No, the liver isn't technically a muscle either, but go ahead.
Alright, I would
What
first,
you gonna say? The brain would shrink.
No, please don't say that answer. Come on, no. All right, how would that? Go ahead.
if I was in exam and time like fly off for me, what I would put was that since persons who abuse alcohol for a long period of time experience dehydration of brain cells, they have impaired thinking, reduced cognitive ability. I would say that this further, right, increases the damage alcohol does on the brain. And funny enough, mother could say shrink the brain too.
But no. Don't put that. But put everything else. Right? The thing is, no, when we have decreased muscle tone and stuff like that, and relaxation of muscles, along with the cirrhosis of the liver, we can actually and long term intake of alcohol, right? We can actually have impaired mobility and function because we're gonna start to decrease the muscle mass a lot, right? And that will basically impair the movement and function of the body itself, right? And leads to more actually falls and injuries, right? We can actually know cause the progression of things, neurological conditions such as strokes and Parkinson's disease. So Parkinson's disease would have been probably a major component here, right? So you could look at stuff like that. Go ahead.
So I was going to say the sedative effect. What would that have? Because we know that sedative effect is basically inhibits the nervous system. So would that have an effect on the brain as well? I mean, from the drug.
Well, we're gonna have an effect on the brain because if we're gonna have relaxed muscles, right, we're gonna have what we call hypoventilation occurring. Because remember, okay, the thing is not about biology, the application of biology, all the systems are connected. So when we have hypoventilation from relaxation of muscles, right, within the cardiovascular system, right, that's gonna decrease the amount of oxygen flow going to the brain, and that will if adversely affect the brain. Alright? So you could speak about stuff like that. But generally, this question was basically an offshoot to basically see how much persons could apply the biology, because all of this is just the application of biology.